All right, we're live on We Are Vax, and we're so honoured to have Dr. Sherry Tenpenny here with us. Thank you so much for being here. My goodness, you are busy. It took me a long time to get you.
I am. It's been a whirlwind of activity, a whirlwind of interviews and things, Polly. It's been, I think I mentioned to you before we went live, it's been about 180 interviews since April the 3rd. So that's been in about, 7 months, 8 months I've done that. I did 6 yesterday to give you an idea. And just to give your audience an idea, I usually do about 35 interviews a year. In 12 months, I usually do 35. I've done about 180 in about 7 months. So, so it's been busy.
The fact that I know, and thank you, and in my mind, you are literally the best doctor in the world. So thank you very much for doing this. Could you start, please, by giving us your qualifications? Because forever we're told that any doctor that speaks out about this is a quack. So let's just get that one put right, first of all.
Sure. I graduated from medical school in 1985, and between 1985 and 1998, I was the medical director of a level 2 trauma center, a board certified in emergency medicine, director of a level 2 trauma center in an ER community-based hospital in Northwest Ohio. I did that I graduated in 84. I became medical director in 86. Since from 86 to 98, I did that. I consider that to be my first career. And I did, all the stuff that ER doctors normally do. And I was the first osteopathic doctor in an all MD medical staff. I was one of only 4 women in the medical staff, and I was the director of the emergency department there for 12 years. So I did all of the big medical stuff that you would see on television and all the stuff that's related to the ER. In September of 2000, I got an invitation in the mail, not an invitation, it was a flyer in the mail to go to the National Vaccine Information Center meeting in Washington, D.C., and I really didn't want to go, Polly. I mean, I just really didn't want to go. I took that flyer and went to go throw it in the trash, I don't know, many times, and it kept ending up back on my kitchen counter. I even went so far as to call them and ask them if there was going to be another conference at some point in the future, because the date of that conference was really inconvenient for me to go. And they said, no, we're just a small nonprofit. We may never have another one. It's like, okay, well, maybe there's somebody, some human being, some person that I'm supposed to meet when I go there. So I went down there, and I'm standing in the back of the room before the doors opened, and there were about 700 people at that conference. And there were all these people standing around with vaccine, now that I didn't know it at the time, but vaccine injured kids and strollers and kids and like teenagers in diapers. And I thought, what in the world did I just sign myself up for here? I spent 4 days in that conference mesmerized by the information, listening to PhDs and medical doctors and parents of vaccine injured children and panels of people and lawyers and all kinds of, and I was probably the first and only 4-day conference I've ever been to that held my attention the entire time. As a matter of fact, I still have my notes from that conference. Yeah. And I went home and I said, how in the world did I miss this? I grew up in a chiropractic family. I was not vaccinated as a kid. I had measles, mumps, rubella, and chicken pox. I was born during the polio era. My dad had gotten fully vaccinated when he joined the Korean War, and he said, I'm not doing that. And they saw in the medical literature, in the chiropractic literature in 54, I was born in 58, in 54 and 55, when the polio vaccine came out, all these published studies in the chiropractic literature of these children who got paralyzed after they had this vaccine. So between my dad's military experience and the stuff that he knew from being a chiropractor, he said, we're not doing that. So I didn't go through any of those childhood vaccines, went through all the age appropriate measles, mumps, rubella. I think I had pertussis 2 or 3 times. And I think it's one of the reasons as a almost 63-year-old adult why I'm as healthy as I am, because my immune system got exercised at the appropriate time in the appropriate way. So when I came home from that vaccine, from the NVIC meeting in that September of 2000, I went, how did I miss this? Maybe I ought to look into this. Where should I start? Well, how about if I start with the CDC? They're supposed to be the experts on the vaccine stuff. Let's go look what they have to say. And the first paper I read was the 1998 version of the General Recommendations of Vaccination. It was a 42-page paper. I got to the end of it and went, this is it? This is what this entire industry is built on? Poorly written. All the references were the CDC. It'd be like Sherry Tenpenny writing a paper, and all the references were written by Sherry Tenpenny. I mean, what does that mean? So maybe I had to look into this a little bit further. Well, that looking into it a little bit further has been 20 years and more than 40,000 hours, 40,000 hours worth of investigation. It's far past that now. I stopped counting several years ago because it's what I do. You know, I see patients 2 days a week in the office, and I always get accused of not being a real doctor because I'm an osteopathic physician, which a DO is like being an MD and a chiropractor. So I still have a big clinic here in Northeast Ohio. It's Tenpenny Integrative Medical Center. We've been here since 1996. I'm always proud to say people have come from all 50 states and about 18 countries to go through our programs and get well and off their pharmaceutical medications. I have a staff of 12, plus me is 13. I still see patients 2 days a week. And then the rest of my time, pretty much from the time I get up in the morning about 7:30 until the time I go to bed at about 2:30, is dedicated to educating people on problems associated with vaccines. So that's what I've been doing for the last, since September of 2000.
And that, in my opinion, and the Peeps' opinion, makes you an absolute expert on this subject. Now, the reason that I wanted to do this video with you is not for our community who are watching now. You've got a lot of people watching you right now. We know, we've woken up. We need to be able to break this down once again. It's like you're a stuck record. We're all stuck records saying the same thing over and over again. We need to be able to send these clips to our families, to the people we love who are still not getting what we're saying. So if it's okay with you, I want to jump straight in with this COVID vaccine. I'm from England. We've seen what's going on in England right now with the Pfizer vaccine. The people Pfizer making the vaccine are already saying this may or may not prevent COVID. Do not take if immune compromised. If you bruise easily, if you're pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, there's no studies on breastfeeding. There's storage problems. There's no studies on children. Yet the politicians are standing up saying to the public, this is a safe and effective vaccine. And for the greater good of Great Britain, you all need to be taking it. So I'd like your professional opinion, please, on what we know about this vaccine and the COVID vaccines, please.
Well, what we know in reality or what we know and what they tell us theoretically are two different things. I mean, what they tell us theoretically is what you just said, Polly. Oh, they're safe, effective. It doesn't matter that we've fast-tracked them. We brought them to market in 8 months. It doesn't matter that we skipped animal testing. It doesn't matter that we have literally lied on the data that we've analyzed. It doesn't matter that we've never had a vaccine like this before, a messenger RNA vaccine. It makes don't pay attention to the man in the other room that says that we have to store this vaccine at minus 90 degrees centigrade, which is colder than the North or the South Pole. It doesn't matter that nobody has ever been tested and trialed on this before. None of those things matter. Just shut up, roll up your sleeve, and take the vaccine. They are shutting down all websites, social media, everybody that talks about problems with it because they want it censored, because they know that all of us can do a really novel thing, Polly. We can read. And so when we read this information and we know what they tell us versus what the actual things are, I mean, for example, I got a sheet just yesterday, that talks about what the ingredients are in the Pfizer vaccine. Let me scroll down here. There are three things, and they are pharmaceutical. It's a list of excipients, and there are three. The first three at the top of the list, I've never seen before, ever. One is called ALC-0315 with a big long name behind it. The second ingredient is ALC-0159 with a big long name behind it. And the third one is 1,2-diestriol-SN-glycerol-3-phosphocholene. Now, in all the years that I've been studying vaccines, and I've looked at all of them intensely and all the ingredients and all the different vaccines, in fact, I have spreadsheets set up with all of this, those three have never appeared ever before. So not only do we have an experimental vaccine, we've never injected messenger RNA as a vaccine before. We've got three listed incipient ingredients I've never seen listed in any vaccine before. We have to store it at minus 90 degrees centigrade. And what's pretty interesting about the storage that it says in here, it says it can be stored on the shelf life for 6 months at minus 60 to minus 80 degrees. It can be stored in a thermal container at minus 60 degrees centigrade, which is 129 degrees Fahrenheit, if you do the math, for us American folks. But here's the thing that's interesting. You can take it out, and after thawing it, you're supposed to immediately use it, or it can be stored up to 5 degrees at 8 degrees centigrade, or up to 2 hours at room temperature. And why do we have to have it so cold if we can have it at room temperature of up to 25 degrees centigrade? And instead of 25 degrees, it's about 75 degrees. And so, and it says during storage, so this is the part that's really interesting. It says during storage, minimize exposure to room light, to sunlight. And what's interesting about that is the fact, and let me just pull it up here. It's a really important document. I spent most of the day yesterday reading about quantum dot. And quantum dot is an ingredient that's going to be in the vaccines. Let me just find it. I'm sorry, I should have had it pulled up here for the first part of our talk. The quantum dot is a technology that they've been working on since 2010. And in 2010, when they developed this technology, that's going to be in the vaccines. It can be influenced by frequencies. So it doesn't want you to expose the vaccine to frequencies, because I'm pretty sure it's got quantum dot in it. And the quantum dot is what binds the DNA and the RNA together. And it allows for, here it is, let me read it to you. Quantum dot technology is a tagging technology. And what it says in the oh, come on, open up here. This is pretty interesting, because every time I try to open this, my tab wants to shut it down. It's a technology that they've been developing since 2010 that binds the DNA and the RNA together. And as it binds those things together, it can be affected by sunlight. It can be affected by frequencies, which makes me wonder is that where the 5G stuff is going to come into play? And it binds things together so it doesn't interfere with function. At least initially, it doesn't interfere with function. And so all of the things, so those ingredients that I just read you, they've never been in any vaccine before. The temperature has never been done before. They have never been able to develop a coronavirus vaccine, which they've been working on since 2002, ever since the SARS epidemic, because every time they got it to a certain point in the animal studies, the animals, either when they got re-exposed, they had this accelerated autoimmune disease, or they died. And so the FDA never allowed them to bring a coronavirus vaccine forward to market because they were too dangerous in animals. But yet, because of the 2005 PrEP Act, that gives them complete liability protection for every single thing that they develop. And because of the stated emergency, even though we've got a viral infection that causes, that allows a 99.96% survival rate, even though the smallest subset of people end up in the hospital, and even a tinier subset of those end up having an adverse outcome or a death, they want us to have this vaccine. It's pretty horrifying things, actually.
So one of the things I saw on the same list as you that worried me, because first of all, let's just go back a second. The breaking news now is they're not going to give it to the healthcare professionals because they say they don't have enough. So they would like to give it now to the old people, very old people in care homes, and the mentally challenged, which sends absolute shivers up for me and all the other parents that have vaccine already injured children. Was the incompatibility section on that you've got there. It says, in the absence of incompatibility studies, this medicinal product must not be mixed with other medicinal products. Well, everybody's on meds. I'm not, but most people in this world are on meds of some kind. Surely that means that we've got a problem, that they haven't done any studies on mixing this vaccine as well, if you can call it that, with the people that are on meds. Did I read that correctly or not?
You did. And you're right. I mean, almost every American, in fact, they say that the average postmenopausal woman over the age of 58 is on an average of 8 daily prescription medications, average. And you're right. I mean, addressing it to senior citizens, they're already the compromised. and addressing it to people that have lung diseases and lung disorders like COPD, emphysema, asthma, lung cancer, all of those people that already are immune compromised in that area, those are the people that are going to die. And I want to go back. I found it. I finally got it to open on my page here on this quantum dot technology of what this actually is. It says that this quantum dot technology is the ability to deliver RNA, anti-DNA, or linear genes into mammalian cells. Then when you go down here a little bit farther, it says one non-viral approach that has promise is the use of photoluminescent quantum dots, which is where the luciferase enzyme comes into play that I'm sure you've talked about before. Quantum dots are optically stable, wavelength tunable, and easily integrated into biological components. The quantum dot uses a delivery platform that can be traced and capable of tethering or binding together bioligands such as DNA, RNA, cell-penetrating peptides without disturbing the biological function. The potential for quantum dot use in biomedical applications, which is what a vaccine is clear when coupled with recent observations that quantum dots are less than 9 nanometers in size. There's the nanotechnology, and can be excreted through the kidneys. Adaptation into biological environments and the use in biomedical therapeutics is clearly the next step. This paper was written in 2010. So the mark that's going to come, the insertion of whatever they want because they have no liability for it is going to come. And I'm going to see if this will work. Is there a way to post this? I see this the talk coming up here. I don't do Facebook Lives very often. Is there a chat?
The boys are going to take this and edit it in afterwards and then put it back out again because we'll be taken down within 10 minutes of doing this interview, if not before.
Okay, so I will.
They're capturing this right now, and they're going to put all your slides of everything you're talking in, and then they're going to put it out again.
Okay, I just texted that to you, and I'll text you a couple of other things because there's another set of slides up here that came from the CDC that just came out a couple of days ago. These were slides from I think October 30th that they talk about the VAERS database. And I think this is important for your audience because everybody here knows what VAERS is.
Just explain one more time, just in case they're wanting to send that to mummy or someone who doesn't understand.
Okay, the VAERS database is the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System that's part of the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. It was run and managed by the FDA, monitored by the FDA, which actually means that the fox is monitoring the hen house. But it's the only thing that we have, and it's the only thing that we're the only country that has it, really. I mean, there's a couple of other databases in Europe, but we've got primarily the best of the best here. And I say that with air quotes about the VAERS database. Well, there's also a thing that's linked to it called the Vaccine Safety Data Link. And so what they are actually, this came out yesterday. This was a set of slides from somebody speaking at the CDC. The Vaccine Safety Data Plan for Monitoring Evaluation of COVID-19 Vaccine Safety. We're going to monitor it in real-time sequential monitoring for vaccine-mediated disease enhancement. Really? So does that mean that we already know that whatever disease you might have, when you get this vaccine, that disease is going to be enhanced? Vaccine-mediated enhanced disease. These studies to evaluate COVID vaccine safety during pregnancy, fetal death, and fetal outcomes will be monitored.
Yeah, wow.
Free temporal scan data mining. And then they list 14 conditions on the next slide. Preliminary list of VSD pre-specified outcomes for rapid cycle analysis. Of the 14 things that they list here, all of them are deadly. All of them. They have things like acute myocardial infarction, anaphylaxis, convulsions, seizure, Guillain-Barré syndrome, multi-system inflammatory syndrome, myocarditis, pericarditis, stroke, transverse myelitis, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and more. So if they monitor, they collect all these things, they go, yep, we were anticipating these. This is what we thought the vaccine could cause. Not to worry, you can't sue us. We got complete liability protection under the PrEP Act. But we're collecting the data just so we know what happens.
And also, not to mention, from years and years of experience with this, you will also be called mentally unstable and you will be shunned by the rest of the public. It is a really, really dark place that you will go down if you're injured by a vaccine. I can't see anything good about this vaccine. I mean, all the doctors have been standing up, and the good doctors, and talking out about this. Why are people not understanding? Why do we see, Dr. Sherry, so many people saying, I can't wait for the vaccine? But how loud do we have to shout? Because all we want to do is warn people, we're fine, we're not taking it, our families are not taking it. What is it that's going on here? Is it a mind control?
I believe that it is. I believe some of it is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, that people, they have language that is scheduled into all of the things, all of the lectures by Fauci and Birx and all these people that we watched. And I believe that it is a massive spirit of fear. It may even be dark magic, for all I know, that they've cast this spirit of fear across our country. And that if you weren't spiritually protected and spiritually attuned and grounded in your spiritual beliefs and have your relationship with God or your creator, however you define that, you are open. You're just open to black magic of whatever they can, because it's the spirit of fear, because people are so fearful. And Polly, if I've said this, we've known each other for how long? Forever. Yeah. And how long have I said that I would hope that sometime in my lifetime, before I die, that people will be more afraid of what's coming through that needle than they are afraid of a fever, a cough, a rash, and some diarrhea, which is what the childhood infections are. And the same thing with this coronavirus. I would hope that people are more fearful about what this vaccine can do to you and mess up you for kill you even for the rest of your life, than to getting a severe case of the flu, which is what this coronavirus thing is. I mean, even with this, the gain of function changes that may or may not be in the vaccine. I mean, I've heard it both ways. I've heard that it's been, genetically manipulated, done through the lab in Wuhan, that the U.S. has actually sponsored it and increased the paid for it. They had the gain of function genes put in there for HIV and rabies, which makes that virus easier to attach to the ACE receptor and get inside the cell. I've heard it all. And then I've heard that, was it an intentional release? Was it an unintentional release? Is it a bioweapon? Quite frankly, Polly, I think that we're at the case that all of that discussion and the discussion about exosomes, which I can mention in just a minute, all of that discussion it's noise. It doesn't matter. The genie's out of the bottle. And it really doesn't matter if the genie has on pink pajamas or blue pajamas. The virus is out. People do get sick from it. 0.4% of people have an adverse outcome, including death, but 99.98% of people survive. But people can't hear it. They are so fearful, and they see these pictures over and over again of people in hazmat suits. And we heard Cuomo going, ventilator, ventilator, ventilator. You got to have ventilators, ventilators. People are going to die. And they heard it for months, and they believed it. And once people have a belief system, you know how hard it is to change. And then people will say, well, I know somebody that died of COVID. Really? Well, first and foremost, I'm so sorry for your loss. It's always sad when people die. I'm sorry for your loss. Whether it was a friend, a family member, a colleague, a neighbor, I'm sorry for your loss. Secondly, are you really sure that they died of SARS-CoV-2 infection? Because most people die not from that infection. They die from some other comorbidity. They don't die from whatever this infection causes, which looks just like the flu. Oh no, I'm absolutely positively 100% sure. My doctor said they died of COVID. Really? Well, ask your doctor if your friend was actually even tested, because we know from fabricated death certificates that the vast majority of people who die from broken backs and falling off of bridges and heart attacks and strokes died maybe in the presence of a positive PCR test, which means absolutely nothing, but they didn't die causally from this infection. But nonetheless, if you believe that that's true and there's no moving you off of it and you're not willing to look at any additional information, then I'm so sorry that your friend, neighbor, colleague, family member, person you loved, cared about, fell into the category of the 0.4%. 0.04%. Emphasize that number of people who died. I'm really sorry about that. But do you play to the lowest common denominator? What about the 99% of people who either didn't get sick or recovered uneventfully? I heard a stat today. I was on a different conference call that 45 million Americans have contracted COVID-related, illness, meaning looks like a bad case of the flu, fever, cough, rash, myalgia, maybe loss of taste and smell, maybe very short of breath, having fatigue. 45 million people in America have contracted the infection and fully recovered. We don't hear that number. All we hear about is, if you get this, you will die. And everybody is so afraid of it. And that's why we are not willing to take off our mask, why we see people walking through shopping malls and out walking their dogs and going to every place, to the grocery store, and standing far away and being suspicious and fearful of everybody and having on a mask that does nothing but make the person who wears the mask sick. It's the only thing they do. And continues to destroy humanity with social distancing. You don't shake hands, you don't touch, you don't see facial expressions. You really can't communicate because you can't really do it talking. Right? You're like, what? Pardon me? What did you say? Mm-hmm. Because the whole point of this vaccine, Polly, and I just had an hour-and-a-half conversation with somebody who's very much in the know about this right before I got on this this Facebook Live with you and your fans and followers here. That the vaccine is truly designed as a bioweapon. It's truly designed to usher in the AI movement. It really is going to, if it's given to healthy people, many millions of people are going to become very sick. If not right in that minute, they will be sick. It will take a little bit of time, just like it takes a while for autoimmune and inflammatory processes, or maybe when they get re-exposed to an ambient coronavirus, because it's out there. There's 36 different types of coronaviruses. We've been aware of them for 60 years, and there are 7 that cause infection in humans. So when they get re-exposed to coronavirus, they'll get an accelerated autoimmune disease, and they will die. The people that recover from their illness, according to this person that I just spoke with, who is very smart and very deeply embedded into the intelligence community, said the point of this vaccine is it truly is a depopulation agenda, and the people who recover from it will never be the same. They will always be sick, and many of them will be mentally handicapped. And the exact word this person used, it's not my word, it's the person who said this to me, is that they will be a mental cyborg. They will be hooked up to the cloud and be hooked to the social credit score system and be told what to do.
Petrifying, but we could see this coming. I want to talk with you for 1 second about fertility. I have, the last year, I have had so many phone calls from parents of adult girls between 20 and 30 already, forget COVID for a second, really struggling to get pregnant. And on top of that, we have coming out with this COVID at the moment, the Pfizer one. If you look at the one that's for the practitioners, it talks about fertility being an issue, but on the one going out to the parents, that's been admitted. What do you talk about depopulation? Well, first of all, I want to say, Bill Gates, congratulations. You've already achieved a massive part of that with people like my son who will never have children, or the Gardasil girls that ovaries have shut down, all the paralyzed children like Josh Coleman's son that will never have children. We've already achieved that. He's achieved that to a great aspect already. What do you think with the COVID vaccine? Have you had a chance to have a look? I know it was only yesterday that we got this information on whether this is actually, the claim is that it's going to cause infertility in girls.
I read probably the same article as you did. Like you said, it just came out yesterday. It causes, what is it, streptococci-1 or something like that, that is necessary for implantation and maintenance of the placenta. I haven't dug into it. I mean, it's just day-old information. So no, I haven't had a chance to look at it. I assume it's probably true, but I don't have the scientific wherewithal. I don't have the backup to say that for certain yet.
But just going back to the fertility issue that we've got now, is this because of the other vaccines? These girls heavily, not just Gardasil, some of the girls that haven't had Gardasil, but it's a massive problem now that we have with the infertility in these young females.
It's the aluminum.
Right. Which is in the vaccines for those that
for the aluminum, I mean, if children get every single vaccine from birth to 18 years of age, I mean, they'll have, almost 12,000 micrograms of aluminum injected. And the lion's share of that is before 6 months of age. And children's gallbladders, which are the primary detox organ of aluminum early on in life, don't fully function until they're almost 2 years of age. So that aluminum gets picked up by the macrophages and crosses the blood-brain barrier. It gets buried in their bone marrow. It gets buried all over the place. I mean, it's a big problem. And if they're getting flu shots every year, starting at 6 months of age, and they don't request mercury-free flu shots, couple the mercury with the aluminum, add in some polysorbate 80, and the polysorbate 80 that we're aware of causes infertility in female mites and causes, and the borax can cause testicular atrophy in male mice. We know that the aluminum from Dr. Chris Exley's studies, the aluminum accumulates in the semen. And he did that study of 62 adult men that gave a semen specimen, he tested it for aluminum. And the higher the aluminum count in the semen specimen, the lower the fertility rate was of the sperm. The 3 or 4 men that had the absolute highest amounts of aluminum in their semen specimen had like 0% motile sperm. So it's the aluminum.
Can we, and it's okay, to the people listening and the many that have contacted me about this infertility thing, I don't know, one day we'll find someone that can talk about what we can do about that. But for now, I want to move on we'll go back to the vaccine in a mix. People are asking a lot of questions about that. But they also want to know about the tests. We've been hearing some people are claiming that they've taken the swabs, they've taken them out. There's weird stuff going on in there. Can you talk to us about how dangerous are these tests?
Well, first of all, and I've had several conversations with colleagues of mine. I mean, to our knowledge, it's the first time that they've ever used a 6-inch Q-tip skewer, and they're supposed to slide it along the bottom of your nose, like this way, right, straight back in, to go all the way back to your nasal pharynx, and it's supposed to be 6 inches. And some people, they get it stuck up this way in their nose. Some people, they're gagged because they got gag reflexes. And when you actually read the instructions on the testing kits, you're supposed to insert it all the way until you feel it thunk against the back there. You're supposed to hit the back of it. And then you're supposed to leave it sit there for 15 seconds. Now, how people can tolerate that and not gag is beyond me. You're supposed to sit there for 15 seconds. Then you're supposed to twist it 3 or 4, anywhere from 4 to 6 times, and then pull it out. So what's collecting back there? I mean, first of all, if this is the most deadly, dangerous, contagious virus ever, why can't you just go and blow on a Q-tip? If we have to wear masks, and now Fauci's calling for 5-layer masks, we have to stand 6 feet apart from everybody, and we have to shut down entire states, but we got to skewer the back of our throats and thunk it and twist it in order to collect it to see if we have it. I mean, just common sense would tell you there's something wrong with that. And what are they collecting when they twist back there? They're collecting your DNA. And your DNA is going into this database that is called BOLD, B-O-L-D, which stands for Barcode of Life Data System. And if you guys want to look it up, it's boldsystems.org. It's designed to support the generation and application of DNA barcode data. And if you believe what came out just a couple of days ago about what might be the quantum dot on the end of these Q-tips that look like little dots down there, that information that came out of Johns Hopkins, that it looks like dirt, like dust, like charcoal dots, right? Mm. I don't know. Are they putting that back there and twisting it to make sure that little thing goes into the back of your throat? Don't know the answer to that. Wouldn't put it past them. You know, so I want to make a couple of statements about the PCR testing, the results, because this is really important.
Okay.
And I've spent the last week, I've almost got a course done on this. And I've just plowed through the medical literature on this stuff, Polly. But the PCR testing, first of all, many of you probably know and read that it's a quantitative test, not a qualitative test. It was never meant for clinical medicine, never meant to make a diagnosis. It was meant to be used in a laboratory where they can identify the tiniest little speck of viral genetics, in a laboratory. So it's quantitative. It takes tiny little pieces, but the tiniest little piece, then they have to do this thing called amplifying it, which means they attach a photoluminescence little molecule to it so they can see it under a certain light. And then they go from 1 to 2 to 4 to 16 to 156. And the doubling rate, once they double it 37 times, if there's a tiny little amount, they have to double it anywhere from 37 to 40 times to get the quantity into the billions. So those genetic SNPs, they have a large enough quantity of genetic material in a laboratory that they can now study it. That's what PCR is for. And everything that you read about PCR, they say it's an incredibly useful and valuable laboratory tool. It was never, ever intended to be used in clinical medicine. And the data now shows, all the research people have shown that have published all these different articles, that if you have to double it enough times to get it to somewhere between what they call the cycling threshold, each time they double it is called a cycling threshold. And if they have to get it up to the number, the CT score has to be somewhere between 37 and 40, there's no active virus there, nothing that can be quantitated. You're not infected. You're not contagious. You have genetic material. That means nothing. And they're defining that as a case. And they're changing the world over all this testing that they find cases. The case rate is going through the roof. Well, if people would stop getting tested, we'd stop it. So now we've got a PCR test that is binary, positive or negative. When it comes out to be positive, if you don't know what the CT score is, what the cycling threshold is, if it's 25 and you have symptoms, chances are you probably have the virus. If it's 37 and you're asymptomatic, you're not contagious, you're not infective, you should not be quarantined, you should not be locked down, you should not be kept off an airplane, you should not be kept out of a nursing home. It's absolutely irrelevant and means absolutely nothing. And we have absolutely crushed the world over false information, fake data. And the other way that they define a case, and this again comes from Johns Hopkins, that they define a case that if you are symptomatic, you have a fever and a positive test, that's defined as a case. Now, let's say you're a mom in a household that has 5 kids, and you have a fever, and you tested positive, and you're defined as a case. Your husband and your 5 kids are asymptomatic and never been tested. They define them as cases too, because you live in the same household. So now off of that one test, we have 7 positive cases, mom, dad, and 5 kids. And if if you have been in contact with other people through the contact tracing rules and the legalized spying, those are defined as cases too. Because I kept wondering, I had to look into this, Polly, because I kept wondering, how is it every morning I get up on the radio and they go, 8,000 new cases in the state of Ohio. It's like, did 80,000 people get tested yesterday? Really? And when the same person gets tested over and over and over and over again, what does that mean? I mean, and if you test people often enough, they're going to turn out to be positive because of just being out in the environment. I heard on the radio the other morning that in one of the local jails here in Cuyahoga County, here in Cleveland where I live, there was one inmate that came in that tested positive. I'm going, yeah, where's this leading? Well, now what they've done is that all of the jail people that work in the jail have to wear personal protective devices all day long, all that plastic, goggles, masks, and gloves, and they have to be tested daily. Now, here's the other thing about testing. The test kits determine a CT count, right? You test it, then you see how many times you have to double it in order to give it a CT count. It varies between test kits. It varies between reagents. I've found 17 different criteria that can make the CT count be accurate or not. It depends on the test, the temperature, the quality of the specimen, the skill set of the taker, how long it takes between the time you do the sample and you test it, the various reagents. The reagents vary from test kit to test kit to test kit, so you can't even compare across the board from this test kit to that test kit. Bottom line, it's all fraud, all of it. It's a DNA harvesting tool that means nothing. And we are shutting down the entire world, introducing artificial intelligence, introducing AI, introducing the robotics movement. We are destroying humanity. It's going to be humanity 2.0 over an infection that barely kills anybody, over testing that is fraudulent, over treatments that can be, over all these things you can do to support your immune system naturally, and absolutely a lie. And a vaccine that's going to kill people. Judy Mikovits came out early on in this whole process and said that 50 million people are going to die from this vaccine. 50 million. She's right. It's probably going to be more than that.
Can I just talk to you for a second about that? Was fascinating and petrifying, and everybody needs to really, really listen and take this in. We're going to break this interview down so you can send snippets of this to your families that you're trying to stop from doing these things. The flu shot being pushed like crazy on the old people, or in fact anybody over 40, I think at the moment. People think that by taking the shot, that again, taking one for the team, they're making sure that the hospitals are, all that complete nonsense. What do you know about the flu shot? What do you know about the dangers of the flu shot? Because I've done enough interviews of people that have been injured or parents of people who have died from this flu vaccine. What would you say about people who think that they should take the flu shot to prepare for being better off for COVID?
Well,
I know they're idiots, but it's what it is. We're going to talk about it.
Flu shots don't work ever, no matter what. If you really believe in a flu shot, if you think, if I get a shot, I won't get the flu. Well, the CDC data over the last 20 years show that at any given non-COVID flu, garden variety of flu season, only 15% of all illness out there, people who really have the deep body aches and the fever and chills symptoms of the flu, only 15% is caused by influenza viruses. That's CDC data over the last 20 years. I analyzed it myself. So that means if you get a flu shot and you think it's going to protect you, it's going to keep you from getting sick, maybe 15%. So the efficacy is about 15%. So that means 85% of the time you will get flu-like symptoms, but it's caused by something else. And in that bucket of 85%, 20% of the time it's a run-of-the-mill coronavirus. Now the problem is with the one, there's one vaccine out there. It's called Flucelvax. That is the one that's made from the dog kidney cells. Yeah. And we know that coronaviruses are in dog kidney cells, and they don't screen for them. Coronaviruses also infect chickens and cause a form of a bronchitis. They actually even have a chicken vaccine for chickens for them to prevent them from getting this coronavirus bronchitis, because apparently when it runs through a flock, it can be pretty deadly. And so those viruses get down into the eggs, that we use the eggs in order to make our flu shots. So we're being pre-exposed to being injected to the coronaviruses. When that happens, and then we get this COVID vaccine that we get injected with this messenger RNA coupled with all that junk that's in there, it just accelerates the autoimmunity, just takes it through the moon.
And people are claiming, or some doctors are claiming, that you could test positive just from having the flu vaccine to coronavirus.
I've seen that, and I've heard Judy talk about it. I've heard Dr. Mikovits talk about it. I haven't looked into that specifically, so I can't speak to that from a place of research. I can speak to it to say that other people have said it.
And so one of the questions coming in to you is, somebody said they don't really want to be around people who have just had the new COVID vaccine. Do we know if it sheds?
It does not.
It does not. Okay, so that answers that one.
Because the shedding has to do with whole viruses. Mm-hmm. This is not, this is not a whole virus. It's a particle of a piece of genetic material from a virus.
And why, again, I just have to go back to this because I find this deeply, deeply disturbing. Why are they hitting up the care homes first of all, with the over 80s? I mean, that for surely is just going to kill them. How are they going to explain all these deaths? Or are they going to say, well, they were going to die anyway?
Or they're going to say, see, we should have gotten the vaccine faster. They died from coronavirus.
Or blame the anti-vaxxers, as they call it. And please, I'm sick.
Or the anti-maskers too, right?
Maskers, anti-vaxxers, all of us who did vaccinate our children and now have injured children. And also just on going really disturbing the mentally challenged. Of course, that's my son, who already has had a seizure from one. I mean, over my dead body will they touch him? But great many parents have their already vaccine injured children in care homes or in institutions for autism, and they're coming after those kids.
I know, they are.
I mean, we always wondered how they were going to. I mean, autism has bankrupt the world.
I know.
So
And we're gonna have to wind up because I've got another backup interview right after you do. But I really, is there any last thing that you want me to address that I haven't, Polly?
No, I really needed to get your take because the COVID vaccine was the main thing, and the test. You've covered that, and the flu shot. We're going to break this interview down and get it out into small bits. But Dr. Tenpenny, thank you.
The one last parting shot, no pun intended, right? is don't wear a mask. Get into the because it's the first step of tyranny. It's the first step of subjugation. It's the first step of obedience that they've got the whole world wrapped up thinking it's just an inconvenience. I'll just wear a stupid mask. You're giving up your freedoms that you're never going to get back. And the only thing that you are doing by wearing a mask is making yourself sick. And people will say, well, I'm doing it for everybody else. Well, the good book, the Bible says, do unto others as you would do unto yourself. Don't make yourself sick over nothing because you're not protecting anybody else by wearing a mask.
Most people wear a mask that I know because they don't want to be screamed and shouted at and abused by other people. But that's the story of our life. We've had to all the time.
Right. But the thing is, the sticks and stones can break your bones, but names can never hurt you, right? I mean, my nurse practitioner was at Giant Eagle the other day, and the manager came up and was screaming at him for not wearing a mask. He said, you can't shop here. And he was at the checkout counter. He goes, I've already shopped here. And he said, and I'm going to check out. And he started taking his things out and put it on the self-checkout thing. And the manager just stood there and yelled at him. He just turned around and looked at him. And he said, listen, please go call the cops. Call the cops. Tell them I'm not wearing a mask. I need to be arrested. Have them show up here because you are looking ridiculous. And so somehow we have to get into our power. We have to give something up. We have to give up our, worry about what people are going to think or say about us, in order for us to maintain our freedoms, our bodily autonomy, our ability to say no, because I don't think they're going to make this vaccine mandatory, but they're going to make it so miserable to not be vaccinated, to not be part of the social credit system, to not be part of electronic money system, that you're not going to be able to get on an airplane, drive across straight lines, maybe even have food delivered to your house, access your medical care, go to the post office. Who knows what litany of tyranny is coming down the pike that everybody needs to get organized and stand up against. And the first place I would say you start with is your pastor, your priest, or your rabbi. Go get some backbone into those people, because historically in the American Revolution, what led us forward was the churches. We always give credit to our founding fathers, but it was the people who had the Spirit of God, and they didn't fear humans, and they didn't care about dying, but they stood for liberty. And that's what we need to get back to, Polly. That's what we need to get back to.
All right, yeah, I agree. Everybody, please pray big, pray. I mean, for me, the biggest weapon of all is prayer. Pete, you're getting so much love from everybody. Everybody absolutely loves you. And thank you so much for doing this. Ben, thank you for your time. I know how busy you are. And hopefully we'll speak soon. And again, sending you lots of love. And thank you so much.
Love you back, Polly. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.